will be like normal for you. So you don't have your family as that landing pad. And so I don't know, I grew up like in the South and my family has lived in country places or whatever. And when you're around family in a small town, what's up, Barbie? I haven't seen you in a while. When you're with family in a small town or whatever, you know, let's say you make a bad decision or something happens. Um, and you don't have food, they might be mad at you, but auntie is going to bring you a plate over to the house. Or you may not have food in your refrigerator, but you can go to so-and-so's house and they don't even have to know. You just know what time they start cooking and you show up and you got a plate to eat. Or look, you have your kids or something like that. You got to work later, whatever. You have your cousin so-and-so. Hey, can you watch them for a few hours? I'm going to pick them up by 8 o'clock tonight. So that is the importance of not being a foreigner, is that you have that soft landing pad. All right. But they also can be a form of protection. You know, I know if I'm in, especially in the town where my family is, and something happens with me, oh, everybody in the family gonna show up. You can't just you can't just stand up in my front yard hollering. Cause my cousin gonna show up, and one of my cousins, he real crazy. My cousin gonna show up, you know. So it's not just you have your husband or your wife fighting for you. It's your husband, your wife, your cousin, your grandmama, your auntie, your so and so, right? So that's the beauty of not being a foreigner. So you have that. So you have that protection. You soft, and then you have the ability to work together as a group, right? But oftentimes, right before you're about to get a huge blessing, God will move you to a place to where you will feel like and or be a foreigner. You'll be in a foreign land. You'll be somewhere off on your own. Your normal network, they stop calling. The people that are normally there to support you, suddenly they've removed themselves. They're busy. They're not calling as much. All these things, you'll feel like, man, where is my support? I don't have any support. Da, 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 da. And really what it is that he's making you a foreigner. Are y'all with me? Are y'all with me right now? Is any of this making sense? Have you ever felt like that as you're building, you suddenly feel isolated? And the biggest thing to that, biggest part about that is typically when you're in places that you're surrounded by your family, you're in your small town or whatever, really there's no room. There's no room. Everything's already established. You know, you can't, if you're living on a place that's on 1 acre and you got all these people around you, how you gonna get 100 acres? There's no elbow room right now. You know, you usually have to go out somewhere that has enough land for you to possess. And this is a part of the process at building. I remember working with one of my clients up in New York, and this particular person was doing really, really well, and their goal like in Manhattan, and that could be like the best place to be to run a business. Like there's all these people, there's all this, there's all that, right? But part of it was extremely competitive, to where in the beginning phases of you growing, developing, you don't want to feel like everything is a fight. And then there's not a lot of growing room there. You know, I remember being like, man, these offices are tiny, they're expensive, you know, you got all this recruiting competition, you have all of these things happening, right? But even though that was the case, the image of it and the perception is like, oh, this is the place to be. This is where you want to be. Everything's popping. You're in Manhattan and it looks good to everyone else. But that still doesn't mean that that's where provision was going to be for you. So what do we do? It's like, look, you're not growing because of the fact that you're bad or your systems are bad or you don't know what you're doing or you guys aren't training your people right or you have a bad product or anything like that. You're not growing because this area is too saturated. It's too saturated. So let's get you out a little bit further out. Yes, people are going to have to drive further. Yes, it feels like it's going to be fewer people, but there's more opportunity and we have enough room for you to grow into. Because where this particular person was, let's say they did hit all of their goals, everybody would have been in their office space like this, cramped up. Because if you want a big, huge office space, it's going to cost $1 million trillion in New York City. So what do we have to do? She had to go out into some foreign land, and now this person is running $1 million company. By now a multi-million-dollar company, just from going out into a foreign space. So let me ask you guys this question. Do you or have you ever felt like you're in a space to where you felt like a foreigner? You felt like you were being isolated. You didn't have enough help. You didn't have a lot of resources. You were in the unknown. You're just like, I have no idea what's going on. It's dark. You feel like you can't see. Your network is gone. You're uncomfortable. Maybe you had to move away from your hometown. Like the life, if you've ever experienced something like that. Like it if you experience something like that. So I'm gonna give you guys a couple different examples that to me were amazing. I like it up. Thank you for liking, Pierre. Thank you, Janessa. What's up, Junebug, for joining us. So y'all, please share the live so you don't gatekeep, because we're about to go in. This is just the beginning. This is simply the beginning. What's up, Barbie? Barbie, have you been feeling a lot better? Is everything good? So I'll give you a first example. So the first example we're going to give is Isaac. All right. So, and y'all, I'm going to say this, and even though y'all probably don't want to hear this was during a time when there was a severe famine, right? And a famine is just sort of like, look, crops aren't growing, there's not enough water, a famine is like people are hungry. All right. So this is the time where famine had now struck the land. Doesn't that sound like right now? Rent is $3,000. Companies kind of hiring, kind of not. Eggs cost $5. Gas is $4. Everything is high. That sounds like a famine to me, meaning the things that you want are not easy to get, right? So this is another reason I think God had me to share this, is there's still opportunity for growth. There's still opportunity to dominate. There's still opportunity to win during a famine if you will just listen. If you'll listen, if you'll obey, if you'll hear God's voice, if you'll trust yourself, if you'll follow through with your plans. So when you're in a time where you're going through a famine, you can't follow everybody else, because everybody else is hungry too. You can't just be following people if it's a famine, right? And what happens also during famines, people get sick, they're not eating well, all these different things. And I do believe, what's up, Urban Skills Group? I haven't seen you in a while, but I'm glad you're in here. So that's what happens during a famine. It's just like the things that you need aren't easy to get. So a severe famine struck the land, and as it happened before in Abraham's time, so it happened to his daddy. So it happened to Isaac, it happened to his daddy, right? So Isaac moved to Gerar, where Abimelech, the king of the Philistines, had lived. Okay. So he moved to a city. And the Lord appeared to Isaac and said, do not go down to Egypt. Now, this is the thing. Don't y'all notice that when things get hard, for some reason, people want to move to the big city? Like things are about to get easier. Because I got to find me a job. Right? But things may actually get a little bit more difficult there. But he says, live here as a foreigner in this land, and I will be with you and bless you. And I hereby confirm that I will give you all these lands to you and your descendants, just as I solemnly promised to Abraham, your father. I will cause your descendants to be as numerous as the stars in the sky, and I will give them all these lands. And through your descendants, all the nations on earth will be blessed. And I will do this because Abraham listened to me and obeyed all of my requirements, commands, decrees, and instructions. So basically, Abraham was in a place of full obedience. He listened to what the Lord said. He listened to what he decreed. He listened to his instructions. He listened to everything. Some of you guys got to be in a place of full obedience just so that your kids can be set up right. Remember, we talked about this, is that sometimes obedience is not just for you. And so your life can be great. And so that way your children's life can be great. The children that you already have, the children you're going to have. Some of you, it might be children you adopt. Some of you, it may be the children that you raise up, just being like a spiritual father or mother to someone, being a mentor, things like that, to where whomever you can provide for, they're going to be blessed because of your obedience. Does that make sense, y'all? Are y'all with me? This is the only thing about doing stuff on TikTok, because it's hard to see when people are with you or not. So y'all say something. Say something if you're with me. All right. So this is the first thing. And so after he said that, the next sentence was, Isaac stayed in Gerar. So the first thing that he did was he did not follow conventional wisdom, or he didn't follow the crowd. He did what God told him to do. There are certain things that God is telling you to do that maybe someone else is telling you not to do. And you may be saying, man, my intuition is saying, go do this, go do that. Some of y'all are really giving your intuition a lot of credit when really is God speaking into your spirit. That's when we say, man, I should have followed my gut. Right. And it's just really your way of saying, like, look, I should have followed those instructions, right? Like, I can feel it. You know, there's times where God will tell me to do something or say something. I'm like, okay, Lord, if I don't feel it, it comes into the belly. If I don't feel it down there, if it don't stir up in here, I'm like, no, that was me. That wasn't him. Right. But you'll say things like, I just had this gut feeling. Don't you hate it when you have a gut feeling and you don't follow that and you end up getting messed up and be like, I should have never listened to you. Any of y'all ever said that? Have people give you advice, but something in your gut said, don't do it. And you did it anyway. And next thing you know, you in a crazy situation. So that is that feeling. So if y'all are like, for people that get on my life, be like, well, how do you hear from God? How do you do this? That's what you're following. Especially if that feeling is consistent with something that God would tell you to do. Like, God ain't gonna tell you hit your baby daddy with a car or hit your baby mama with your car. He said, revenge is mine. That wasn't your gut. That wasn't the Lord. That was something else that told you to do that. Let it go. All right. So that's the thing. So then Isaac stayed. So we're going to go into this. So Isaac stayed, and it said, when Isaac planted his crops that year, he harvested 100 times more grain than what he planted. That is what happens when you're obedient. So really what he did was flip it. He flipped that money quick. He flipped his investment quick. So to give you an idea, when you get 100-fold back from something, which is one of the highest standards of God as far as blessing, right? Is getting 100-fold back. That means you put in $1,000 and you got 100,000. Or you put in $100 and you made 10,000. All right. Or you put in 100 grand and you got $1 million back, right? That is what happens when you get 100-fold blessing. So he planted it and he blessed them, and he became a very rich man, and all of his wealth continued to grow. So he acquired a lot of flocks of sheep, goats, herds, cattle, and the servants of the Philistines became jealous of him. Haven't you ever had that happen? To where sometimes your fear, and this is why we're going into this, right? Of why you're being persecuted. Why you're being persecuted. And I need to change this title on here. Of why you're being persecuted. And sometimes it just may be that people are jealous. Now, that's also for some of you why you have a fear of success, as you're afraid of the jealousy that will come. But it's okay. I'm going to show you exactly what to do to handle it. So sometimes the persecution is coming from people they're just jealous. And let me tell you, when you're obedient and God blesses you, people are going to be jealous. And it's not that they're bad people, they're terrible. What people are jealous of watching someone else do the thing that they know they should be doing. So there's been times I have found myself being jealous, and I ask myself, like, what is it that is making you have this little feeling about this person? And literally my answer was, it's because you're watching that person show themselves in a place in which you refuse to. You're watching that person follow their dreams, follow their inclinations, follow their desires, and that's something you've never allowed yourself to do. And once I recognize that, I'm like, let me correct that and do the things that I want to do, live the life that I want to live, follow the inclinations, follow my vision, follow my goals, use my gifts, show myself, so that way I'm not ever in a position to where I'm jealous of another person, or I'm comparing my life to another person. Because once you start living authentically to you and how God created you, you stop comparing yourselves. Why? Because you start living in the fruit and the abundance of your authenticity. That's it. So this is what happened, right? So basically, they got so jealous that they filled his wells with dirt. Now, mind you, you aren't cutting a rug today. What does that mean? I don't know what that means. I'm not cutting a rug today. Tell me what that means. You want me to act up? This is just the beginning, friend. OZ Cash App. What are you talking about? How am I supposed to be cutting a rug? Oh, you talking about dancing. Oh, I get it. No, I dance on Thursdays. I teach every other day. And I do that on Thursdays, so that way, if there are some seniors that are homebound, oh my gosh, you don't understand that. I know that was an old one. Y'all using these 1965 terms, and then expect for me to remember everything that's going on. Yeah, y'all, that's an old one. You're not cutting your rug today, or what they used to say, right? What else you gonna be like? Right on, sister. Right on, dancing. We bring 65 back. Right on, right on. Y'all, come on now. Somebody said millennials. Why don't millennials grow up? And it says, because if you ask a millennial, what year was it 30 years ago? They say it was 1965. But like we all stuck in the year 2000 anyway, which is kind of true. So anyway, so then they go and they put dirt in the well. That's the same thing as somebody get jealous of you and they put sugar in your tank. Like, oh, you're thriving. Like, how dare you thrive during a famine? So because I can't stop you from thriving, the only thing I can do is kick up dirt and put some sugar in your tank and just make life more difficult for you. Have you ever seen that? You're thriving, things are going well, and you're thriving when it's a famine for the people around you and they decide to put some sugar in your tank or to bring some drama to your doorstep. Like, how dare you be happy? Don't you see how sad I am? How dare you go out and get money while I'm over here suffering, while I'm out here broke? How dare you go and buy a Louis Vuitton and I don't have groceries in my refrigerator, right? But what they don't realize is that you're growing because of your obedience, because you dared to follow God. You dared to have faith in yourself. You dared to do something different. You dared to break a curse. You dared to get delivered. You dared to step out on a limb. You dared to try something. Let me just see something. Y'all, let me see something. You dared to go and see something. You dared to do all that stuff, and they get upset. So that is part, and we're just warming up. That's part one of why you're being persecuted. And if you haven't started your vision and you're making the decision to follow your vision, follow your heart, follow God, be obedient and be faithful about the gifts that he gave you and honor him by using your gifts, just know that this is part of the process. Because when you do decide to follow him, your life improves 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100-fold, and you literally can flip $100 and get 10 grand. Right? Because you're walking in a space that has provision for you. You're walking in a space that's anointed, and you're no longer toiling. When you follow God, you're going to go through growing pains. When you follow God, you're going to go through growing pains. You're going to go through all of these things, right? Hello, Blue Marv. How you doing? I see y'all down here. What's up, Prophetess, bro? Is it Rosaline or Rosaline? I'm thinking it's Rosaline. What's up, Richard Smith? What's up, user? Y'all welcome. Y'all continue to come in, like up the live. We're just getting in here, right? So that's part of the thing that happens. And y'all go ahead and like up the live until we get up to like the thousands. Because I know y'all are listening, but like it so that way TikTok will show this live to other people. Because otherwise they just won't show it. They'll just be like, she in here just doing something stupid, cutting paper, or she cutting a rug right on. Or doing whatever. So you have to prepare yourself for that. You have to prepare yourself for that. When you follow God and you start getting in that flow, you start experiencing some ease. You start getting that 100-fold blessing from your obedience, from following his instructions, from following his ways. There's times where I pray and I don't pray like, Lord, send me some money. I be like, Lord, give me your wisdom. I'm like, Lord, give me your perspective. Lord, give me, your strategy. Like, if you were me and you have all this going on around, what would your strategy be? How would you approach this? What would your mindset be about this, right? Like, I'll give you one example that I went to God about. I was like, okay, what about this whole TikTok ban? He was like, look, you got 6 months at least, then we'll see. Right? So it's just like, okay, cool. If they do ban it, they ban it. But what are you going to do from now until then? Or YouTube, or, whatever it is that you're doing. So what you want to do is ask, what's your strategy? Let me tell you, when you ask God, what would your strategy be? Give me a strategy. The strategy is not going to fail. Now, sometimes what I find is that I'm trying to catch up with the strategy, meaning I'm like, okay, Lord, let me stick with you. All right, I see this strategy. Let me figure this out. Let me work out a little bit, because you got this, but I'm trying to keep up with you. So, but when you do that, you start getting some ease about things. You start getting that low-hanging fruit. You get that 100-fold blessing. And remember, 100-fold blessing just means, to give you an idea, you put in $1,000 and you make 100 grand. People don't want to see that, especially during a famine. So that's the thing that you have to remember is Isaac is getting blessed during a famine. And we're currently living in a famine. Not that things aren't there. It's just the prices of them, right? And the acquisition costs of them are so high that it's not as easy to go out and get unless you take advantage of predatory lending. Like they give it to you at 20% interest. Who wants to buy a house at 11% interest? That's higher than the tithe. The Lord don't even ask for that much. Okay, so he's out here getting blessed during a famine, and so of course they get jealous. So they basically, thank you so much for the corgi. I appreciate that. Thank you, bad influence. So he gets blessed during a famine. So this is where y'all going to be. Y'all about to get blessed during a famine. So you have to be prepared of, while you're following your vision, that somebody might try to put sugar in your tank. But let me show you how to deal with this. So that's what they did. So the servants, not the king, but his servants, meaning y'all don't even have the ability to make decisions. Y'all working for the king. Why y'all out here coming at me? Right? You attacking somebody. You didn't even try to do your own business. Right? You working for the king. You ain't trying to get your own land or nothing like that. And you still jealous of me? You ain't even trying. People who are not trying or attempting to follow a vision, attempting to build anything, they are going to be the ones that typically throw daggers at you. Why? Because the people who are out there doing it, they get it. They get it, right? And they're so busy doing their thing that they don't have time to put sugar in your tank. And that's what I'm just saying, sugar in your tank. They literally just put dirt in his wells. Now, this is really important because during a famine, you've got all these flocks of sheep, you've got food and everything like that. You need water, right? But they put dirt in his wells. So finally, Abimelech, he was the king at the time. He ordered Isaac to leave the country. He said, go somewhere else, for you have become too powerful for us. Meaning, Isaac stayed as a foreigner in this land just because God told him to stay. And due to his obedience, God gave him 100-fold harvest, meaning he put in 1,000, he got 100 grand. If he put in $10,000, he got $1 million back. If he put $100 in, he got 10,000 back. How many of y'all want 100-fold blessing? Okay. And he got that from obedience and following that. Okay. So then Abimelech's like, look, man, you getting too powerful for us. Get out here. Thank you, Gerard. Get out of here. You gotta move. So he's like, okay, I'm in Gerard. Gerar is funny. I'm like, is this where the name Gerard comes from? Anyway, I don't know that. I just read that this morning and Gerard came on here and I thought about that. Don't say that that's where that came from. I don't know. I would have to go look. But anyway, so then he's like, okay, so we're going to move from Gerard to the valley of Gerard. Like we're going to move out of the city, right? Like I'm all up on y'all. Let me give you y'all space, right? So they said, so he moved away to the Gerard Valley where he set up their tents and settled down. And he reopened the wells that his father had dug, which the Philistines had filled after Abraham's death. And Isaac also restored the names of Abraham had given them. And Abraham had given them names to glorify God, right? And Gerard laughing. And so he reopened those wells. So he's like, okay, y'all came and put dirt in my wells. Let me move. I'm going to reopen the wells that my father created. Isn't that funny that Abraham had dug wells that his son was going to use? And he had done that ages ago, a long time ago. Just like the story I told y'all about my grandfather. He went and bought all these houses, paid for them in cash, and now his grandchildren, children, great nephews and nieces, and all those people are staying in those houses during a time where housing is extremely expensive. So now they have the opportunity to financially build their lives without having to worry about the cost of paying housing. And my grandfather passed away in 2010. So 15 years later, he been gone. And his children are still living off of that. So that's another thing. Sometimes you have to, oftentimes, your vision isn't going to be just for you. It's going to be for your kids and everyone else. So when you skip following that vision, following those inclinations, those ideas, those dreams, right? And you don't do them, you also starve out that potential and that soft landing for your kids as well. And it's hard to think that way because you're just like, well, ain't nobody do that for me. Don't be like that. All right. So then Isaac's servants also dug a well in the Gerar Valley and discovered a well of fresh water. But then the shepherds from Gerar came and claimed the spring. So they moved. They moved from Gerar to the valley. So they left. They did something brand new. They not all up in people's face. They're like, look, y'all go ahead and have that. Move. We're gonna move all of our sheep, all of our flock, all of our family out and way out from the city. These folks came all the way from the city to where they were to hate. And not only did they come all the way that way to hate, they also came and claimed that. And now remember, they're foreigners. This is not land that they own. This is not land where their family is. They don't have any protection. So Isaac could have decided to go to war with these people, right? But remember, he's outnumbered. And these people came and claimed what it is that he was building. Now, some of y'all would have been out there fighting. How many of y'all are like me? You would have been out there fighting, scrapping. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, my friend. Like I came and got the well that my daddy made, and then we put in some new work, dug a new well that y'all didn't even have. Found some fresh water. Then y'all gonna come and claim that? And you done left all the way from downtown Atlanta. You done came all the way out here to Decatur talking about you gonna claim my well? Y'all, I would have been out there scrapping. Like the life if you would have been out there scrapping. How like the live you would have been out there arguing and carrying on. I guess I'm the only Nuck if you go person on here. Okay, Doll would have been out there arguing too. Be like, hold on, wait a minute, because it's hard. It's easy to let one go. It's really hard to let multiple go. And Isaac then left Gerard. He all the way out in the valley, the lily of the valley, and then now y'all out here hating. No, right? That's how some of us are gonna miss the turn of the cheek test. And I'm learning, but I said, Lord, I might fail half the time because that other side still needs to be delivered. Okay. So, and they're like, this is our water. And they argued over it with Isaac's herdsmen. So Isaac named the well Esek, which means argument. So then Isaac's men dug another well. Mind you, this is all during the famine. Dug another well. But again, there was another dispute over it. So now it's like, okay, Isaac. So Isaac abandoned that one, and this time there was no dispute, meaning he just moved on and dug another well. And this time there was no dispute. So mind you, he started in Gerar. He went to Gerar Valley. Now he's getting further and further and further away. Further and further and further away. When he got to a certain amount of space away from that, he digs another well. There's no dispute. So he named that well Rehoboth, which means open space. For he said, at last, the Lord has created enough space for us to prosper in this land. Sometimes you are being persecuted because there's not enough space for you to prosper. So if God wants to give you 100 acres, you can't be in downtown Atlanta. Ain't 100 acres for you there. If you have a CEO in you, sometimes your current boss is turning on you because there's not enough space for you there. And you're sitting there like, these people keep coming at me. Why everybody have an attitude? Why is everyone double crossing me? This and this and that. And they could just be bad people. But sometimes, friend, it's because there's not enough space for you there. And God is trying to move you into a place where there is enough space for him to pour out the blessing for you. You a foreigner. He may push you out way by yourself. He may push you out way. What's up, First Lady? Push you out way by yourself just so that there's enough space for you to be blessed. I'll tell you this, there's been times where I know God was needing to bless me and he'll push me away from my current network, away from my current friendship. And it'll be always just some old random, this is why we fell out. And when I look back, I realize it really wasn't them. God needed some room. He needed some room to bless me. He needed some room to talk to me. He needed some room, for me to acquire. He needed some room for me to plant. He needed some room for me to build. And he couldn't do that while I'm all up on people like this. Right. And sometimes some of y'all are going through things to where you have a greater capacity because you've been obedient, because you've been listening, because you've been doing the work, because you've been focused, because you've been dedicated, because you're committed, because you're purpose driven, because you're creating great ideas, because you have your head on straight, because you're listening to God, because you're doing all of the things, your capacity has outgrown the spaces that you're in. That does not mean you go into work and be like, y'all stupid, that's why I'm leaving. No. Notice Isaac didn't argue with any of them. He didn't argue with any of them. He just moved on. And the second thing is that he said, at last the Lord has created enough space for us to prosper in this land. He didn't even put it on those people. And now this is the part that I had to get with mentally for myself, and that I also saw in this thing. And I want y'all to get this too. Sometimes we get resentful because we think that the blessing is in that space. Can y'all hear me? It's telling me no connection. Can y'all hear me? Hit like or something like that if you can hear me. Otherwise, I'm going to restart it. Say something that you can hear me. Okay, hear me. So now I'm just going to ignore what TikTok is saying because I have connection, friend. Okay, so now it says good connection. All right, that's on them. Okay, thank you. So notice he didn't argue with any of them. And this is something I had to realize, okay? I definitely hear you. Sometimes blessing is in that space. Oh. Because Isaac was obedient, the blessing was on him. So these people are coming behind him trying to claim the space when they really should have been claiming Isaac. So they're like, so it's this land. You ever have somebody be like, they try to pull a deal from underneath you. They try to get your commission. They try to take the deal, take your customer, steal your idea. They try to do all these things because they think that the blessing was on the thing when really the blessing is on you. And so you have to recognize that when the blessing's on you, it doesn't matter how far out you have to go. The blessing's on you. And so they said they're claiming all of Isaac's wells. They should have been claiming Isaac. Like, bro, how can I be your servant? Because everywhere you go, it ain't a famine. This is also, too, that sometimes you'll be in a place where people are persecuting you. You feel like they're cheating you. You feel like they're doing all of these different things. And really, you have to remember, God uses everything for his glory. And sometimes God wants people to see your journey so that they will know God is God. And so sometimes he'll let people watch your journey and watch your struggle and watch you have to make moves. And every time you make a move, everything still turns out right, despite the persecution, despite the challenges, despite the fact that they cheated you, despite they didn't give you the raise, despite they stole that customer, despite they tried to steal your deal, despite they did whatever it is that they did, things still ended up going well for you, just so that those people can be like, you know what? let me do this, right? And so, and then from there, Isaac moved to Beersheba, right? Now, here's what I love. Isaac was a part of the journey, and he was going through those things that required him to move, right? Second time in your life, thank you for serving the community in this capacity, truly a blessing. Thank you, Tanya or Tonya. So I appreciate you listening in, and y'all share the live, tell people about it, all these things. So he said, where am I? Okay, cool. So the Lord appeared to him the night of his arrival. I'm God, your father. I am the God of your father Abraham. He said, don't be afraid, for I am with you and will bless you and multiply your descendants. Let me tell you why this don't be afraid part came in. So if you're ever wondering, I'm going to share a personal experience of mine and tell you why. Every time God appears, he says, don't be afraid. All right. So I was on this journey, and this time last year, God was like, okay, you're going to leave your job and you're going to write a script and you're going to finish your ministry courses. I was like, what? Like, you know how much your job paying me? Do you know how much? Do you know what's going on? Whatever. So anyway, I do that. And to me, it just felt like everything was drying up. It was just like, and I was used to having a plethora of money. Like, I had this 6-figure job, coaching, still doing the things that I'm doing now. Plus I was coaching on the side. Plus I had my jewelry company. I had all these things. So I was just used to just all these different streams of income, whatever. But my job was the part that just was like that stability of, look, all my bills are going to be paid, whatever. So I went through a dry season, and those were the only directions that I had. And I'm like, okay, what is happening? So anyway, I end up getting to a period where things are kind of like, I finish everything. I finish my script, finish my courses in ministry, I do all that stuff. And I'm like, okay, now what? And I'm like, y'all, I move like this. This is how I live my life, like this. From one thing to the next, boom, 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 boom. And it just felt quiet. Yo, then I see my money started looking funny. I was like, huh? So I went into prayer one night. Now, mind you, I got a mentor. I prayed about a mentor. God sent my mentor. I did all these things, right? I'm getting all these prophetic words, things like that. Y'all, I prayed one day, and I had my little prayer journal out. I was doing all this stuff. And I always hear from God. But this time it felt like things were being quiet. And in my heart, I was like, Lord, I want to hear a direct word from you, right? And I just didn't feel like I had that like direct word. So why did I say that? So I immediately fall asleep. I have this strong vision. I'm in this building. I'm outside of this building. This building has these really tall walls, right? And someone comes up to me and they're like, hey, Yannick, go in here. Someone needs your help. Da da da. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Let me go up there. Let me get to the elevator. And so now, mind you, one of my prayers were, okay, Lord, you told me you're calling me to leaders, to people in the marketplace. You told me to do all these things, but what am I supposed to be talking about? The reason I say that is because I have been an executive coach for maybe 15 years. So I teach people about systems, strategies, business, whatever. I've been doing that forever. Then I got all this information from ministry. Then I have all this stuff from dance. And then all these things. I'm like, what do you want me to talk about? Like, I'm ADHD. Like I know a lot of different things. I've done everything. I moved from this thing to the next. So first off, I get in this elevator and immediately the elevator takes off. It was like, yeah, this person on the 24th floor. I'm thinking in my mind, how am I supposed to know? The elevator just took off. What if I end up in the wrong place? That was prophetic in nature. I get off, there's a sign on the wall, and it had almost like a chore chart, but it had a list of the needs of the people there. The first thing was spiritual needs. So I was like, okay, that answers that question of what I'm supposed to be doing. Right? Yes, I am married. So the second, so I go in there and there's this boy there and he's like, oh my gosh, Arnie, you're here. I'm so happy you're here. Da, da, da. You're going to be so much of a help. In my mind, I said, where is God? Y'all, why did I say that? I didn't even say it aloud. In my mind, I said it. Immediately, all this light just comes out of nowhere. Now, it's like before I could even finish the sentence good, I couldn't say anything else. Before I could respond to this boy, whatever, all this light just comes from nowhere to the point to where I had to like shut my eyes, go into the fetal position, right? It was that bright. Then I hear the voice of the Father start speaking. Y'all, his voice sounds like thunder, like if there were any of y'all been on a cruise ship and you know the horns on a cruise ship, if there were like 100 cruise ships around you and they all started and you're in the middle and they all started blowing their horn at the same time, how you would feel like your ears are about to burst. I knew he wasn't yelling at me, but that was just how loud God's voice is, like the voice of the Father. We're not talking about Jesus, the voice of the Father, not the Holy Spirit. Like so loud to where when he started speaking, I had to take my hands. I'm in the fetal position and then take my hands and just press my hands against my ears like this because I was like, it would burst my eardrums. That's how it felt. I immediately wake up and I hear God say, that's why I send my prophets. Your ears can't take my voice. So anytime, I'm saying that to say, anytime you read the Bible, especially in the Old Testament, and God says, do not be afraid, that's why those folks were afraid. I remember I was just like this. I woke up crying and everything still like this, right? And I immediately heard that. That's why. So if you ever wonder, why does he always say, don't be afraid? That's why. That's why. Anyway, so so he said, don't be afraid, I'm with you and I'll bless you and will multiply your descendants and they will become a great nation. Because let me tell you, God appeared to you, he gonna have to say something because you might pee your pants. God the Father appears to you, you're gonna pee your pants. All right. So he gotta say something quick. Okay. So anyway, so he said, I will do this because of my promise to Abraham, my servant. Then Isaac built an altar there and worshiped the Lord, and he set up a camp in that place, and his servants dug another well. So look, he was like, look, let me just go ahead and get this worship off. Let me do what I need to do. Let me dig another well. That's another thing too. God comes to you and say and do something. He start blessing you. Start on your next thing too. While those blessings are falling, while you're in the blessed place, go ahead and dig that next well. When you're in a location where it feels like, look, praise going up, blessings coming down, when you're in that smooth spot with the Lord where he really is giving you that anointing, don't just do one thing. Be obedient, but go ahead and put it all out there. Okay? Put it all out there. If you're in a space where you're like, hold on, there's some deliverance happening, people getting healed, pray over your whole body, friend. While it's coming down, I don't care if they have 12 people up there praying with the pastor. If you like, oh Lord, God is healing in this place, God is delivering this place, Don't be like those people just watching. I'll be like this. Oh, let me make sure I get my edges. Let me get all that, touch my feet. My ankle was a little tight last week. Let me just, do you get what you hear me? Y'all, if you around people that's like that, if you look, one of my homegirls was like, "Girl, it seems like you getting your prayers answered right now, girl. Let me give you my prayer list, because God is hearing you in this season. Let me give y'all hear me." Anyway, so he set up his camp in that place. All right. So this is where the rubber meets the road. Because remember, we just said, look, when you're in that space and you're being obedient, you're following your vision. God is, and you're really your vision, right? When you really get with God, your vision is God's divine instructions for your life. And he says, your vision is the answer to your life's complaints. So when you go to God about an issue in your life, typically what he does is he gives you a plan. Now there are seasons in life where you just get manna, and that's usually when you're in a transitional period. So for instance, last year I was getting a lot of manna because you're in that transitional period. You're in that period where God is developing you. You're in that period where he is consecrating you. He's, re-downloading his principles. He's getting you ready, right? When you're in that space where he's getting you ready, yeah, you're going to get manna. There's going to be some easy, let me just go ahead and get this out there. It's lovely, right? When you leave that season, typically what he does is he gives you instructions. And your vision is God's divine instructions for your life, where he downloaded them into your spirit. And this is the thing, your vision will always glorify him, and it will also glorify what he made and put inside of you. So whatever your inclinations are, however you're especially made, it's going to highlight God's creation in you. So if you don't know, or if you feel unclear about your vision, go to my profile and click the Cultivating Vision and Strategy workbook. It's $15, $15.99. Download it, start on it, because we're entering into a season to where you're going to need to know with clarity, with definition, and with detail, God's divine instructions for your life. I do it myself over and over again, and I created it with his help. So download it. It makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. So wait, but this is the portion when we're getting back to the persecution side of it, right? And why you're being persecuted. I forgot. I need to show that. Why you're being persecuted. And remember, I said that God will allow people to see your process and will evangelize during that process. So he gets to this next well. God comes to him, gives him the instruction, says, look, I'm gonna bless you, whatever. You made it to this space, you were faithful, you made it to this space, this is what's gonna happen. So next thing you know, King Abimelech came from Gerar with his advisor, right? And his army commander, and says, hey, why? And then Isaac goes, why have you come here? Look, you obviously hate me since you kicked me off your land. So Isaac is like, look, why are you over here? Let's keep it REAL. What you're not going to do is come here being fake. Because ain't that what they do? After they tried to steal this and they lied and they kept the promotion money or the raise that they promised you, they stole your commission, they got you kicked out your space. Look, after they cellulized your name, after they cellulized, ain't that what she said? Cellulized my name. After they cellulized your name, they come back acting like ain't nothing happening. Isn't that what they do, y'all? Please tell me if I'm wrong. After they came and cellulized your name and scandalized your name, just depending on whether or not you're from the country, After they did that, they come back acting like everything is like, and you get blessed. They come acting like they have no idea what happened. So Isaac, like, look, let's keep it real, friends. Let's keep it real. Why have you come here? You obviously hate me. You've been talking bad about me. You've been salalizing, right? And you kicked me off your land. The land you told me was okay. As soon as I started doing good, suddenly what was okay is no longer okay. Y'all ever see that? Someone was agreed to help you out. Yeah, girl, you can come work in my salon. Yeah, you can come do this. Oh, no problem, no problem. I know you're having a hard time. And as soon as you no longer having a hard time, suddenly it's a problem. Everything that wasn't a problem is suddenly a problem. Anyway, look, ain't nothing new under the sun. So they replied, we can plainly see that the Lord is with you. So we want to enter into a sworn treaty with you. So now they want to make their relationship official. Because now he's powerful. It's clear that God is with him. Now they're like, let's make our relationship official. Before we were just talking about it, but let's make it official. Swear that you will not harm us, swear that you will not harm us, and then they're gonna lie, just as we have never troubled you. And then they said, we have always treated you well. And we sent you away from us in peace. Oh, so putting sugar in my tank is in peace? Closing my wells, making my wells run dry on purpose is coming in peace? That's what y'all call peace? Right? Running me out from land to land, got me all over the city, all over the country. That's you coming in peace? Right? And then they said, then they take it to the next level. And look how God has blessed you. Look, you doing good. I know I kicked you out the house, but look how good you're doing now. I know I told you could stay with me for 3 months, and I really allowed you to stay for 30 days. And then I realized you was making money and you was happy, so I kicked you out. But look how good you're doing now. Yes, I violated the terms of our agreement, but look how good you're doing now. Sign this treaty with me. Let's go. Let's partner together. Ain't that what they say, y'all? Isn't that what they say? Or am I lying? That's what they say. All right. And now look how the Lord has blessed you. So, but this is the thing. Isaac prepared a covenant feast and he celebrated the treaty. Why? Anytime you have the ability to make peace with people, take it. If you have the ability to make peace and make it official and come to some sort of agreement, take it. Right? Don't be a fool. But, if you can be at peace, why not? Because you're going to need peace to build. Right? You're going to need peace to get creative. You're going to need peace to be established. And sometimes, as you're going and you're trying to acquire that peace, you may have to do things. You may have to just be nice to people that weren't so nice to you. You're going to have to forgive. You're going to have to let go. You're going to have to let go of the resentment. You're going to have to do that because really it wasn't you. It was their own insecurity that made them or it wasn't you. It was their insecurity that made them act in that way. So that's part of the reason why people persecute you. But what I want you to take from that is there are times to where your success is going to be very location driven, right? And the location is going where God told you to go. Now, just because he told you to go there doesn't mean that you won't experience any sort of struggle. But the thing is that your struggle will typically come from the jealous people around you. Right? It doesn't mean that everything about it is going to be easy and that everyone is going to be pleasant as you're on your journey. Most of the time, it's very difficult for people, and we're going into this season. It's very difficult for people to smile at someone thriving while the rest of the world is in a famine. It's really hard to watch other people thrive while you are suffering. But that doesn't mean that you don't do what you need to do. Because someone has to thrive. I said this in 2020 to my clients. I said, look, y'all, a lot of businesses are going to close down in 2020. But with the great number of businesses that struggle, There's going to be a smaller percentage, but still a group of people who are going to have their best years in business yet. And it starts off with you having the mentality of you're going to be in that second group. You're going to be a part of the remnant, right? Who thrives during a famine. What you have to do is follow the instructions. We're going and we already started the season of a famine. Inflation super high. Things aren't as easy, but they're going to be easy for you because you're going to follow the instructions that you're receiving. And you're going to be obedient. Did y'all hear my stomach just growl? Fasting is a spiritual practice. I said, hold on, not you disrupting the live, stomach. So you're going to follow God's divine instruction during this season of famine, and you're going to be fine. And you cannot allow the faces of others to throw you off. You can't be afraid of success. And you can't be afraid of the little struggles that come while you get the 100-fold harvest, because they're going to turn eventually. Once they stop cheating, once they stop trying to, pillage and all that other stuff, you're going to get so powerful that eventually where they thought you were competition, suddenly they're going to want to form a partnership. And that's your goal. You should grow your business, your brand, your idea, your life to the point to where eventually people are forced to stop seeing you as competition and start trying to find ways in which they can partner with you. And there's times where I tell people all the time, look, I'm not your competition. And if anything, I'm trying to find a way that I can bring you into this because it's too much work for me to handle. How can I successfully and fairly bring you into this? So, one, make sure that you're not staying in a place that's familiar and wondering why you don't have a way while you're still in famine. Sometimes it's going to require you to get out from up under. You're going to have to go out. You're going to have to be the foreigner. You're going to be isolated. You're not going to feel like you have that security, that backing. You're going to be very uncomfortable, but it's because there are certain places that just don't have enough room for God to bless you. And he got to move you so that you can have a 100-fold harvest. But there's got to be enough land, enough room for you to do so. Does that make sense to y'all? Does that make sense to y'all at all? Please tell me y'all getting this, because that's the only thing about me teaching something like this over the internet is I can't see your face. I can't see if y'all are with me, if y'all are understanding whether or not you get it. So that's the first part that I want to share with you guys. And I've seen this ring true for many of my clients, to where there's been times where they've outgrown their space. They've outgrown their market. Sometimes they've outgrown their client base, to where they're struggling trying to maintain a certain type of clientele, and maybe their business needs a luxury clientele, and that where they're going and what they're trying to build requires a higher mindset. That doesn't mean you're leaving those people behind. You're just leaving those people to someone that they're called to. And if you sit and struggle thinking that it's you and not recognizing the face that you're getting called higher, you got to move into a bigger space. You got to move into a different side of your city. You got to look for, just more. You'll end up shriveling up and dying and becoming a part of that famine because you haven't moved forward and you haven't gotten into that new location, that new space, that new client, that new group, that new network, that new everything. All right. So the second side to it is I want to talk about why Jacob was God's special possession, because your goal is to be to the point to where you're flowing so well that you become God's special possession. Right. And this is actually one of my favorite things that I've ever taught. And even though I haven't taught it yet, but I'm just saying it because as I was going through the notes, I had to go and be like, oh snap, you got to get ready. You still got your bathrobe on. How you gonna be on at 12 and you got your bathrobe on right now? And it's 11:40. Anyway, But I was getting so excited. I was like, let me, and I was like, keep going. I was like, The Lord was like, stop right here. This is it for today. Don't just keep going. This is not for you. This is for them and you. But this ain't just your personal study time. This is a preparation time. Because in my personal study time, I can read, study, do research, get strategies or whatever for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours at a time. All right. So Jacob, we're gonna talk about Jacob. First off, is Jacob was not perfect. Jacob was a trickster. Jacob um fooled his brother into giving him his birthright. Now, I don't think he fooled him. Some people call him a trickster. I don't think he's a trickster. My granddaddy used to say, let a fool be a fool, because they're gonna be a fool anyway. If you are dumb enough to sell your birthright for a bowl of lentils and some bread, you deserved it. Now, this is the first lesson is, and I ask this question on the live all the time. You have this vision, you have this idea, you have the things that you want, right? And all of these things that are inside of you, if you pursue them, will positively impact your destiny. I'm not going to say they're going to come without strife. I'm not going to say they're not going to require sacrifice, but they are going to positively impact your destiny. And when we don't pursue them, typically it's because we're exchanging our destiny for something else. So if you don't have a vision, you need to get the vision, download the workbook, or if you know the vision, because if you know your vision and it's clear, you have it written down, don't get the workbook, just do it. But every time you don't pursue it and you don't do that thing God put into you, right? What you're doing is you're exchanging your birthright. And typically we do something and we exchange it for something temporary. Like he was hungry. Now, to give you an idea, when Esau, and Esau is Jacob's twin brother. Okay. So this is not like they're just random people. This is his twin brother. And God told Jacob and Esau's mother, Rebecca, that Jacob was going to end up ruling over his brother, although he wasn't the firstborn. Esau came out first. Esau liked to hunt, do all this other stuff. Jacob liked to sit with his mama. He was more in the house, things like that, right? But guess what? Jacob spent time with the person who got the prophecy. So he had just a different level of knowledge, okay? He spent his time with somebody who knew something, right? So, but this is the key. Right before he traded his birthright, Esau was out hunting and he came back real hungry. And Jacob was cooking. And he's like, oh, I want that. And Jacob's like, I'll give it to you if you swear to me your birthright. Let me tell you how dumb this is. All right. So he actually does it. He does it. Esau goes, look, I'm dying of starvation. What good is my birthright now? This is how dramatic we are. You're not dying of starvation. You just went hunting. So that means you have food that you can cook. You're just being impatient. How many times do we trade our destiny because we won't be patient about doing the things we need to do? You can wait. You can be hungry for a little bit, right? Well, if I do that, I won't have extra money for my hair and nails if I put this into my business. That's selling your birthright, because we'll look at it. And I'm saying, when I say we, I really mean me, myself as well. We'll look at something like that and be like, how can you be that dumb? We do it all the time. Maybe your vision requires for you to make a $3,000 investment, a $10,000 investment. Maybe you have to get a second job, or maybe you have to eat oodles and noodles for a while in order to do that, right? So that means you're willing, and if you don't do it, that means you are willing to sell your birthright, meaning the vision that God gave you, your destiny, because you got to eat steak and salmon every night. Or because you won't be able to wear certain types of clothes, or you might have to drive an old car a little bit longer, or you might have to stay with your sister or rent a room, or whatever it is that you have to do. That's a temporary, fleshly, external, environmental state. just because you're not patient. So Jacob takes his birthright. And let me tell you this, for everything that you won't do, someone else will do it. If you won't follow your vision, you have a great idea, you do nothing with it, you're going to be watching TV one day and that same thing's going to pop up. Have any of y'all seen that happen? I've had it happen to me. I'll have a great book idea. I'll have a great this. And that's how I know our ideas come from God. Because if you don't shop that idea, you don't do anything with it, he will sure drop it into somebody else. Because he said, my word will not come back void. He didn't say maybe not. He said, my word will not come back void. His ideas, his thoughts, your gifts, your everything that he put inside of you. He says, look, it's not going to come back void. So if you refuse to get up and move, you refuse to get focused, you refuse to follow it, I'm going to give it to somebody else. So that was, to me, I was like, and then I started judging, and God was like, hold on, we do that. Y'all do this all the time. You sell your birthright, you sell your destiny for something else. You traded, you were destined to be a husband or a wife, and you traded it for a situationship. You were destined, to be, and it's whatever you can put in there. And you traded it for something less than based upon a temporary feeling, a feeling that was probably going to leave soon and that you already had the opportunity to do anyway, right? Your destiny was around the corner, but, Tyrone and Keisha showed up today. But the other person was right around the corner. And he's just like, right? So he did that. So Jacob, this is the thing, right? Hey, Bernard, thank you for following. So Jacob was a trickster because he did technically trick his brother out of his birthright. If you ask me, I felt like he should have did it because we don't need to be falling behind fools. If you're dumb enough to trade your birthright, and you also dumb enough to you're not smart enough to hold it. Okay, cool. So then you get into, why was Jacob God's special possession? Now, mind you, we got a whole country that's at war right now that's named after Jacob, Israel. So he was special enough for God to where at this point there's a whole people, a whole nation named after him, because at a certain point God changed his name from Jacob to Israel. What made him so great? The first thing was, although Jacob was a trickster and he would trick his brother, Jacob was also obedient. He was obedient. So, and he listened to his parents. So his mom told him, look, you're going to leave this place. Again, we're in a situation to where and remember, I taught this last week and earlier this week and yesterday, that when you are obedient to God and his plans for you, it gives you peace, provision, right? And protection. Meaning some of the things we rebel against because we want to go our way, what we're doing is we're rebelling against the protection. And we'd be like, Lord, you let this happen to me. No, I told you to leave. You decided to stay. I told you where my protection was going to be, and it wasn't in the house with him. So when he go oop upside your head, I told you to leave. I told you to leave a year ago, and I told you where to go. So if he going oops upside your head, and I told you to leave, you can't blame me. That was you, right? So those are the three things that happen: is you get provision, meaning when you get that 100-fold blessing, right? When your business does things that it technically shouldn't be able to do, and people are looking at you like, let me learn your strategy. This is why I love what I'm doing now, because now I can tell the full truth of what my strategy was and is, right? Look, my strategy is I just go with God. I do and say what he tells me to do. And then I go and eat and hang out on the couch with my dogs and my husband, and that's what we do. That's my strategy. So those are the three things you want to do. So here we are in another scenario to where Jacob is being obedient about location, to where he's now being a foreigner and he's now going through another wilderness. So at a certain point, his mom, Rebecca, was like, look, man, I'm tired of these women. So Esau married all these girls, some local, I think it's Hittite women. And she's like, look, I'm tired of these women. They not like us. They Like he's marrying wrong, and he's marrying wrong to the point to where he's like, his mom's like, Jacob can't do that. He has a birthright. We're not doing this to our family. These are not going to be the women that's going to lead our family. So she tells him to leave, right? And she's like, look, I'm sick and tired of these local type women. I would rather die than to see Jacob marry one, right? So she told her son, hey, get ready and flee to my brother Laban in Haran. Stay there with him until your brother cools off. Because after Jacob stole his brother's right and received the blessing, because he also tricked Isaac into blessing him as well, right? So after he gets his blessing, and he gets his birthright, right? So Isaac spoke a blessing over him, and he's like, look, it's already been spoken. Once somebody blesses you, you can't, God blesses you, can't nobody take that away, period. I don't care, no matter how mad they are at you. And so Esau was like, as soon as my daddy died, I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna kill this, you know what. All right. So at this point, his mom's like, look, you gotta run. Because I heard Esau say he's gonna kill you. He's gonna run. Plus, I don't want you to marry one of these local women. She tells Isaac the same thing. Okay. The long of the short is Jacob actually leaves. Now, Esau heard his mom say how much she didn't like those women, and he went and married one anyway. And he ended up marrying one of Ishmael's daughters. Anyway, that's a whole nother thing. So anyway, so he went away to stay with his uncle Laban. All right, so Jacob leaves, and he's literally under the stars. All right, he's under the stars, and he literally is sleeping under the stars with a rock under his neck. So he left his parents' house where he had a bed, a place to stay, food or whatever. He leaves and he's asleep in a place, and he's asleep where he got a rock under his neck. This is significant because oftentimes, and I wrote this down as I was writing, I was like, Lord, ain't this the truth? And he was like, I know. I'm the one who said it. Sometimes I'll be like, Lord, ain't that true? Ain't that true? He's like, duh, I'm the one who said it. What you talking about? So oftentimes, as you're pursuing your destiny, there's this level of discomfort that comes. And sometimes people won't pursue it because they can't deal with having to sleep with a rock underneath your neck. Right? There's certain people that as soon as they see they account can't ever show a low balance. And they're trading their destiny because they can't take not seeing all that money in their account. If God tells you, look, take 50 grand out of your account right now and invest it in this. Some people can't handle that. What? Like, because you like looking at it. You don't like the discomfort of not having all of that, right? To where you're not getting to where you need to go because you're unable to get uncomfortable. You're unwilling to make the investment. You're unwilling to sleep with that rock under your neck. You're not willing to move into, a small apartment that's cheaper and more affordable because you're putting money into your business. You're putting money into those things. Jacob went and left obediently, did what both of his parents said, left, and now he's asleep with a rock under his neck. All right. So meanwhile, Jacob left Beersheba and traveled towards Haran, and at sundown he arrived at a good place, set up camp, and stopped there for the night. Jacob found a stone to rest his head against and lay down to sleep. As he slept, he dreamed of a stairway that reached from the earth up to heaven, and then he saw the angels of God going up and down the stairway. At the top of the stairway stood the Lord, and he said, I am the Lord of God, of your grandfather. I am the Lord, the God of your grandfather Abraham, and the God of your brother Isaac. I'm sorry, the God of your father Isaac. The ground you are lying on belongs to you, and I'm giving it to you and your descendants. Your descendants will be as numerous as the dust of the earth. They will spread out in all directions, the west, the east, to the north, and the south. Again, another example of how someone had to get out from a space, and God had to get some room to bless him. He had to get he got to get you from out of that space so he has room enough to bless you the way that he wants to. Some of y'all are sitting here suffering because you won't move. You won't make room. You want to be all up under somebody. You're just too comfortable. You got to be up under your mama. You got to be up under your friends. You got to be in your network. You got to be, you got like, well, everybody here from Mississippi, who am I going to talk to and be lonely? Right? And you're sitting there wondering why you're stuck, but there's not enough room for God to bless you the way that he wants to. If he said he's going to bless you this way, that's how he's going to bless you. All right. So, and he goes into that. And he said, what's more, I am with you and I will protect you wherever you go. And one day I will bring you back to this land and I will not leave you until I have finished giving you everything I've promised you. Again, when you obey God and you follow his directions, he's going to protect you and he's going to give you the provision that you need. All right. Jacob awoke from his sleep and said, surely the Lord is in this place. Now, you may not think that that's significant. Some of y'all have literally had encounters with God. He's set you up with a divine meeting. You met the person that can change your life. You got to meet someone that no one else can. You got the contact, they in your phone, whatever, and you still won't believe God. You got everything that you need. You met God. He put you in place, gave you everything that you needed, and you still don't believe him. You still doubt. You still don't have faith, and you're wondering why things don't work out, why the business isn't taking off. Because he gave you everything you needed, you just didn't believe him. So Jacob awoke from his sleep and he said, surely the Lord is in this place. That's another secret to success. You got to recognize when God is in that place. And it may pay you a little bit less than what you really wanted. Maybe the person's personality ain't wrapped the way that you prefer. Maybe it's not the city that you really vibe with, right? Like, I'll give you an example. One issue that Nike has, although they're this billion-dollar company, is they got to do a lot of recruiting, mainly because the people that they want working for them, how many of them want to live in Oregon? They're not in New York City. They're in Oregon. What if your blessing is in Oregon and you're from Miami? Are you willing to move? Are you willing to take the job? Did you miss the blessing because you didn't recognize God was in Oregon, but you stayed in Miami because Miami's familiar to you? That's where all the baddies are. You sitting there thinking, ain't no baddies in Oregon. You traded your destiny for baddies. Let me move on, y'all. Are y'all with me? Okay. So he says, surely the Lord is in this place. I wasn't even aware of it. So he's just being obedient, right? And just through his obedience, he ended up landing in the place where the Lord was, with a stone under his neck. He said, hey, I don't know where y'all. Let me tell y'all. There's so many blessings and obedience. There's times where I just ran up on a blessing. Like, wow, wait. That was everything I needed. All right. And he goes, what an awesome place this is. And it's none other than the house of God, the very gateway to heaven. Jacob messed around through obedience, even him being a trickster, even with him cheating his brother, ended up messing around, being obedient, ended up at the gateway of heaven. That's where you get that 100-fold blessing. Messed around and won the lottery. Okay? So the next day, he got up very early and he took the stone he rested his head against and he set it up upright as a memorial pillar and he poured olive oil over it, right? So that means he anointed it. And he named that place Bethel, which means the house of God, although it was previously called Luz. That's the thing. I don't care what it was called before then, before God showed up, before you showed up. He renamed it. All right. This is the house of God. Then Jacob made this vow: if God indeed be with me and protect me on this journey, and if he will provide me with the food and clothing, and if I return safely from my father's home, then the Lord will certainly be my God. And this memorial pillar I have set up will become a place of worship in God, and I will present to God 1/10 of everything he gives me. So Jacob decided to tithe. Jacob was so aware of what happened And he was so faithful and so obedient. Jacob said, look, I don't need no altar call and I don't need no preacher to come in here and tell me nothing. God spoke to me. Look, Lord, you do all this. I'm I'm gonna give you something. He didn't need nobody to guilt him. He didn't need to have no marketing plan. He didn't have to do any of that stuff. His heart was like, Lord, you do all that for a whole me? A whole me? I'm gonna give you a tithe. Ain't nobody talked to him about tithing. It wasn't no temple close, wasn't no church. He out there in the middle of the woods with a rock. Ended up meeting God, had an experience he believed God is. Jacob like, yeah, you get 10, bro. You can hold 10. You can hold 10. You can hold 10, right? And and so I'm saying that to say this is why literally Israel is named after Jacob. Israel got a lot of stuff, y'all. They got money. They got a lot of stuff going on over there. The land is plush. They got the Dead Sea. You can go in there, wash your face. Have your face coming out looking like a baby. Okay. Jesus was over there. There's a lot of stuff over there. Okay. The whole nation was named after this man. So why? And because your goal is to become God's special possession. So everywhere you go is blessed. I don't know about y'all. I'm willing to work hard, but I ain't trying to work hard and toil and have to, like, people like, I'm out here hustling. Y'all, I ain't trying to be out here hustling. I want to do what I need to do, go home, put my feet up, enjoy some food, and be at peace and walk my dogs. I don't want to have to work from sun up to sundown every day, trying to hustle, figure this out. I don't want to toil with the ground. I want to put some seeds down and get a 100-fold harvest. And let me tell you, you can do that with God. When you don't, you try to do it on your own, you're out there toiling. Thank you, Miguel. Toiling. I'm not trying to do that. I'm not lazy, right? But I'm not trying to work for Babylon. I'm trying to work for God. God gives people a Sabbath. Babylon want to work you 7 days a week. 7 days on, 7 days on. It ain't even 7 days on, 7 days off. 7 days on, 7 days on. And it's the thing, and this is how you know you're in a place where you're working from Babylon. Even when you're off, you're still working. Even when you're off, your mind ain't even at peace. When you're off, your mind is still working, trying to figure things out, trying to do this, trying to do that. That's how you know you're working from Babylon. So this is a couple of reasons why Jacob was God's special possession. The first thing is Jacob understood his opportunity. He took it. Yeah, Jacob wasn't about to let foolish people take the reins. When you look around and you're like, why are there so many fools in power? Because you allowed them to be. You didn't take the reins. You didn't say, nah, ain't no way. Okay. The second thing is Jacob recognized the presence of God. Do you recognize when you see something that when God is in it? God can be in something and look crazy. Remember, Jacob met God under the stars in the middle of nowhere under a rock. Right? Third thing, Jacob believed God. He believed him. Do you know how hard it is for someone to tell you, you about to be this, you about to be that, you got $2 in your pocket? You know how hard it is to believe God that you're going to be this thriving business owner, you're going to be, a great husband or wife, and you're going to have this amazing marriage, and you just left divorce court? Do you know how hard it is because most of the time when you believe God, you're going to have to believe God said what he said, regardless of what you see. And he always comes to you in a time where things are just like, especially when for those big transitions, when things are kind of like, ugh. Okay. Number 4, Jacob honored God. He was like, oh, this man is holy, right? Jacob was obedient, and he was obedient enough to act on what he believed. So people say, I have faith. Faith without works is dead. If you have so much faith, how come all I see in your life is the easy route? I don't see any risk. You say you have so much faith, but you've taken no risk. People who have great faith, you can see the risk that they took. You can see the fact that they bet on themselves. You can see where they went against the grain. You can see where they said no to the world, no to man, and say yes to God. You can see it. They bet on themselves. They have faith. So we'd be like, oh, I believe you, Lord. No, you don't. Because you never stepped out on faith. You never did. Your vision is going to require you to step out on faith. And if you have a hard time doing that, you got to dig deeper, seek some deliverance, do whatever you need to do to really rebuild your faith. Because when you're following your vision, what you're saying is, I'm walking into the unknown. Because remember, your vision is something that is particular for you. They're instructions, your divine instructions. Your divine instructions. Like, if I wasn't stepping out on faith, I wouldn't be here. This me sitting here talking to you on TikTok don't make sense. What would make sense if I had some nails, if I was making a wig, or I was, booty shaking or whatever, right? That would make more sense based upon what it is that makes sense for this space, or doing ASMR or something like that. That's what everyone does. This doesn't make sense, right? So you have to do those two things. And let me tell you this, right? This is something that's really important that I want you to think about. Is sometimes, I'm not going to say sometimes. We already talked about God is in the place where you're resting your head against a stone, meaning things are uncomfortable. They're not ideal, right? Now, the problem is sometimes we're in the situations that aren't ideal and we get comfortable, meaning he still got up from the stone and finished the rest of his directions. He built the altar and moved on. Let me finish what I started, right? But you don't get so downtrodden. Notice he didn't murmur and complain like, I had to leave my mama's house where I was cooking and there was food and now I'm underneath the stars with this stone. No, he wasn't murmuring and complaining, right? But also, most of our transitions, like even, let me finish my sentence. Most of my transitions, and even the transitions of my clients, where their biggest breakthroughs happen, right, is when they were in a space that was uncomfortable and that may have seemed lowly at the time. So, like, you can have a big transition in your business when your business is losing money. Some of my best clients were people that I met when they were like on the verge of their business closing down, or they were on the verge of quitting, or life at home is crazy, right? And they can't focus and they're depressed and they're this or that, right? So oftentimes those transitions come during those times. I'll give you a few examples. When David was being transitioned, he was a shepherd boy. That's not sexy, right? Moses was on the run. He had just killed somebody. That sounds crazy to say. He had just killed somebody. Jacob was on the road running from his brother. His brother said he was going to kill him. Somebody put, his brother said, look, I am dropping a dime on Jacob soon as my daddy leaves this earth. Soon as I am done grieving my father, I'm dropping a dime on Jacob. I'm done. Jesus was in a manger. I'll even tell you this, right? I learned this the other day. And this is important. Language is very important, and so are details, and so is context. Do you guys remember when it said, when Jesus asked before entering, he said, go get me a colt that had never been ridden, right? And this is when he was about to transition. This is when he was about to transition into our Lord and Savior. This is still prophetic. Now, we just read that and be like, okay, give me a colt that had never been ridden, right? And you're like, okay, so in my mind, all the time I was thinking, okay, he wants something virginal. I don't know. Nah. If you're from the country, a donkey that had never been ridden is just like a horse that had never been broken in. Don't nobody want to ride on that. That it doesn't make sense. Why would you want to get on a horse that's never been ridden, meaning it's never been truly broken in? It's wild, it's bucking, it's obstinate, it's all of those things. That's a strange transition to choose, right? But even then, maybe he was showing us his abilities to subdue, and subdue the earth, which is one of the first commands that we have as human beings in the Garden of Eden, was to subdue the earth. I'm not sure, but all I know is that's a strange and uncomfortable transition. Because that donkey ain't just saying, it's not one of them cool trotting ones, right? It's like they like this. And if you've ever been in the country and you've seen a horse that's never been ridden before, I said, Lord, that's prophetic. How would you do that? That's crazy. You could have easily gotten somebody old mule that been riding people. It's smooth. It's this, it's that. This thing, a donkey that's never been ridden, that is like getting in the car with no shocks. And I have a car outside that don't have any shocks that I use when I do my pop-up shops. It's like this, right? But anyway, so when you're going through these, right before you're about to decide to pursue your vision, to pursue your goals, most likely you're going to find yourself in a place of discomfort, a place that's not sexy, in some sort of wilderness. It's going to feel bumpy, and everything inside you may say, oh, I don't know if I want to do something else like this, right? But not realizing that you're about to enter into your place of provision, protection, and peace. And you have to remember that God said what he said, regardless of what you see. He says, if God be true, let every man be a liar. Right before you are about to pursue whatever it is you're about to do, everyone around you is going to lie. That don't make sense. Whoa, whoa, this ain't the right market. No, these are divine instructions for you in your life. Pray about it. Follow your vision. It's going to be your place of protection. I don't care what everybody else says. If God says go down the street, jump 10 times, do this, blah, 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 I'm going with God. And it's never failed me yet. Remember this. If God be true, let every man be a liar. That includes your mama, your daddy, your brother, your boss, your this, your that. I'll give you an example. I remember when I bought my first house, actually this house, and I was searching. I received so much advice saying, well, you don't want to do that. You're not married yet. And, blah, 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 blah. Is this the right time? And then when you get married, you're going to have to get a second house. You have to do this. You have to do that. Blah, blah, blah. Thank God I bought this house at this price, at that interest rate, to where if I would not have done what God told me to do at that time, I would have been out here paying these outrageous housing prices, right? Or paying 2, 3, 4, and 5 times the price for a house this size. And they're like, your husband this, your husband that. Guess what? We got married. My husband is right here in this house, paying bills, remodeling, doing whatever. He has his whole studio set up downstairs. He has this, he has that. We have room for us, my stepdaughter, everything. And he's the one providing for this house. But the original person who provided and gave me the plan that defied conventional wisdom and what everyone else said was God. If God be true, let every man be a liar. I'll give you another example of that. I remember being in church, and my pastor at the time, this is the elections with Donald Trump. And my pastor's not political at all. He told us Donald Trump was going to win the election. I went on TV, everybody on CNN. Y'all probably saw this too, right? Everybody on CNN, ooh, right? As a matter of fact, I'll give you his exact prophecy. He said Donald Trump is going to win this election, but he says, do not worry. There's a man of God that is going into the office with him. And that man of God was going to subdue. He's talking about Mike Pence. That man of God was going to subdue him. Did that not happen? Okay. If God be true, so when the election came, I wasn't at the house crying like everybody else or celebrating or whatever. I was just like, okay, so I know what's coming. And he even prepared us for what the next coming years were going to be like. If God be true, let every man be a liar. And he gave us advice that he heard and a prophecy that he heard that defied what every analyst, everyone was saying. And I have thousands, well, I don't know if it's thousands, but so many stories like this. So as you guys are moving forward, focus on your vision and what God is telling you to do and the instructions for your life. Because let me tell you, anytime I do something, it seems like God, I'm following you. What happened? Immediately, I'm like, he's like I remind God of what you told me. Hey, did I miss something? Immediately, provision comes. So do that. So I hope that if anything, I accomplish my objectives. The first one is if you're not following your vision, right? Because remember, your vision is the divine instructions from God. And he gives you your vision to answer your life's complaints. If you're complaining about your life, ask yourself, are you following your divine vision? Have you started the process? The second thing is for you to understand how important it is to where location is very important. Sometimes you feel persecuted, and the reason you feel persecuted is there's not enough room for the blessing that God is about to pour on you where you are. So he's got to get you out into some open space. Right? You can't get 10,000 acres in the middle of a city, in the middle of Egypt. All that land is taken. And you're sitting there like, God, you told me you're going to give me 10,000 acres, and here I am in downtown Atlanta. Ain't 10,000 acres ain't in downtown Atlanta, friend. He told you to go to Oregon. Wherever. I don't know. Whatever that is personally for you, right? And the last part is making sure that you are pursuing becoming God's special possession. Are you being obedient? Do you recognize when God is in a place? Right? Are you obeying his instructions? Right? Are you willing to get uncomfortable? And are you showing faith through your actions? If I don't see any risk you've ever taken in your life, it's very unlikely that you have a strong faith. You are a religious, friend. You're just trying to operate in a way that keeps you out of hell, or just so you can say you're a good person. That has nothing to do with having faith. And this is the last thing. And I said this in the beginning just in case y'all missed it. Whenever you don't honor your gifts, you don't honor your vision, you don't honor your ideas, you don't follow through with anything, what you're doing is you're dishonoring God. You're dishonoring how he created you. You're dishonoring how he made you. You're dishonoring everything that he said was special and wonderful and fearfully made. Right? And you are exchanging that for someone else's destiny. You're saying, how you made me isn't good enough. You did a bad job. You should have made me. I was supposed to be version like so-and-so. That's dishonoring. Right? So follow through with that. Honor God with your gifts, with your vision, and honor him enough to have faith to say, if God be true, let every man be a liar, period. I'm stand on this. And this is the struggle that we're all in. It's a struggle of faith. Whenever you don't do that, right? And just understand that your belief is always under attack. Your belief in God, people make you feel like you crazy for believing God. Y'all, I've had too many supernatural experiences and occurrences with God to let anyone prove to me opposite. And I pray that you get to that point. And I pray that all of y'all have, if you're wavering your faith, that God sends you a supernatural experience where you're like, you know what? This is crazy. Okay. Your belief in yourself and your dreams are always going to be under attack. People who do great things in life are also big dreamers. They say wild things. I'm going to create a new taxi service. Now we have Uber. I'm going to create a new taxi service where people even drive their own car. I'm going to create the biggest, largest taxi company in the world and not buy a single car. That's an outrageous dream, or it was outrageous, right? Now you can go to Morocco and take Uber. You can go to Brazil and take Uber. You can take Uber anywhere except for the places where they said they outlawed it because they had to give they had to give the other people a break, right? Your belief in your family. They'll make you feel, people will make you feel crazy for believing in family and believing in your family. No, my son will come home. I know y'all calling him this and that. He's going to come home and he's going to be a pastor. Your son is in jail right now. What you talking about? Your son will not stop doing, you know what, right? Believing in your children, that's always going to be under attack. Believing that things will work out, that belief is always going to be under attack. And believing when they're going to work out, even when they're hard, right? Basically believing that God said what he said about you and what he showed you. It's always going to be under attack. And this is the thing. Every time people make you feel crazy for believing, you remember that they're crazy for not believing. And that's why they're walking around looking like the walking dead. That's why they need all of these substances to make them feel alive again. That's why they got to take all of this stuff. That's why they got to drink every night when they get home from work. That's why they got to do all this. People like, well, how do you doing this? You follow God. You follow. I say you follow a God too. You obey a God too. Yours name is just Mary Jane. And you go as soon as she call. Every time you get home. Right? You doing all this counseling, you doing all this, you believe in deliverance. Oh yeah, you got your own version of it too, friend. Right? You have your own safety net. You can find your own peace and protection. Yours is just with substances and external. I just decided to live my life from the inside out. Y'all decided to live your life from the outside in, but we're all just trying to live. Mine is just sustainable and isn't going to poison me or kill my destiny over time. It's just not going to make me destroy my family, destroy my destiny, destroy myself, destroy my self-confidence, and ruin things. That's the only thing. I just chose a truly holistic approach. That's it. So there's a couple of things. That's it for today. I hope y'all enjoyed it. I'm going to read. This is going to be posted. If you did miss it, or you missed the beginning, go back and watch it. I'm going to have this. I went live on YouTube. You're going to see this on YouTube to where if you go to the link in my profile, follow my YouTube page and it'll be posted under today. And it's called Why You Are Being Persecuted. And you can watch it from the beginning, rewatch it, do whatever you need to do. The second thing is I do have a small group, and the small group is going to meet on Thursdays. And I'm also going to start adding, once we get the group up with a few more members, we're going to add Saturday mornings. And because a few people requested that, just because there's a lot of leaders and future attorneys and things like that, to where everyone cannot do Thursday evenings. So we will start having 2 sessions. Join the group, and that's if you want to be held personally accountable for birthing out your goal, your vision, and your dreams. It's called the New Luminaries. The name of the group is going to change. I don't know what the name is going to be. I'm going to let God tell me what the new name is going to be. But that was something that you can do. And we meet every week. And that is if you want a personal touch to getting started on your goals and your vision. You can also work with me one-on-one. That's on there. You can schedule a mini session. Most importantly, if you're watching this and you're like, okay, I need a vision. I don't know what I need to do, or I'm unclear about my vision. Your first step before you do anything is to download the vision workbook. It used to be a course. I recognize everybody's attention span isn't there for a course and walking themselves through these things, but you can read and write. So if you finish just the workbook, the way that it's laid out, you're going to get your answer as to what your vision needs to be. And I'm telling you guys, for what is coming, you're going to need to be connected to a vision, and you're going to find provision. Let me tell you, vision has saved my behind. Listening to God's divine instructions has saved my behind so many times. I was in Long Beach, California, running a company, and God was like, look, you're going back to Atlanta. What? Do you see how hard I've been working out here? Do you see all these other things? Anyway, I packed up my stuff, told my business partner, handed all of my salespeople my everything, right? Except for the money in my corporate account, but gave all of my salespeople, whatever, to my business partner. Moved back to Atlanta. People were like, hold on. So you went out there, worked in California for all these years. You've been in this industry. You've been running this business for all these years. You're just going to close down? Yes. Do you know my business partner left that location not even 5 months later? If I wouldn't have listened, I would have been sitting there stuck in a $10,000 a month lease for my corporate, on a corporate lease for 5 years in an industry that I no longer wanted to be in. For real, for real. I would have been sitting there on my own trying to figure out how to swing that, whereas previously we were splitting rent. Y'all, that's only one thing to where, like I said, if God be true, let every man be a liar. And my business partner at the time was looking at me like I was crazy. What do you mean? Okay. Nah. If God be true, let every man be a liar. There are going to be things that are going to happen that you following your vision is going to be the provision that God provides for you. We have to stop looking for manna and we need to start looking for his instructions. Manna is for the babes. Manna is when God is transitioning you and you're in a place of transition, right? Where he's working on you. And I understand that. I've been in that position before. But a lot of y'all have already been receiving your manna and you're going to mess around and you're going to be in a place where you're supposed to be following instructions and you still sitting around waiting for manna. And when the manna don't come, you're going to be hungry. This is not the season to treat God like Uber. I and myself and so many other people who have a prophetic gift, people that I know really hear from God, they can really see, they have great character, all of those things. We're all hearing the same thing: urgency. This is not the time to treat your ideas and God and anything else like Uber. And what I mean by that is when you call Uber and you're not quite ready to go, they wait outside and you go get your purse and you got to get your keys and you got to bring a soda. So you have a little Coca-Cola, Diet Coke on the way there. And then, you forgot to, you got to go get your kids. Your child got one shoe on. You have all this stuff. And meanwhile, the Uber sitting there waiting in your driveway or outside of your apartment or wherever, right? And they'll wait and they just give you just a slight upcharge, right? Nothing too inconvenient to wait on you. We have to stop treating God like Uber. God is on a plane. When he takes off, it's gone. If you miss it, you miss it. And you better hope that there's another flight. And I'm going to tell you this. I don't think there's going to be another flight. I think this is going to be a season where obedience is a requirement. You're going to have to put down, I'm going to call myself too. We're all going to have to put down our rebellion and put down our desires. One of the things, and this was for me personally, I'm going to share this with y'all. And I did share this with y'all last week, but one of the things that he said was, I didn't put rebellion far from you. I'm sorry, I didn't put obedience far from you. It's within reach. I was like, what you mean? He said, I didn't put obedience far from you. Right? Also, he said, if you're disobedient, your life will constantly hang in the balance. You'll live night and day in fear and unsure if you will survive. And in the morning, you will say, if only it were night. And in the evening, you will say, if only it were morning, for you will be terrified by the awful horrors you see around you. I do believe we're moving into that season. But those are for people who will not move into a place of obedience, right? But he said, I did not put obedience far from you, where it's out of reach. This is what he said. I command that I am giving you today. The command I'm giving you today is not too difficult for you, and it's not beyond your reach. It's not kept in heaven, so distant that you may ask, who will go up in heaven and bring it down so we can hear and obey? That's funny. And it's not kept beyond the sea, so far away that you must ask, who will cross the sea to bring it to us so we can hear and obey? No, the message is very close at hand and it's on your lips and it's in your heart so that you can obey it. So this was directly to me, but I'm sharing it with y'all because if you're on here, you're probably somewhat like me. And basically, I was like, oh, okay, Lord. So basically, you're saying the things that you're telling me to do aren't difficult. It's just not what I desire. That's all it comes down to. And especially for rebellious people, people like me, sometimes we'll be like, oh, that's so difficult. It's not difficult. It's just not what you desire. Like, I'm not eating a lot of carbs right now. I'm trying to get, super healthy, things like that. Right. It's not difficult. I've been eating, salad, steak, not bad. Right. It's just not what I desire. I desire to eat ice cream every night. That's not a place of obedience for me right now. Right. God has been putting a big emphasis on my health. That's why I truly believe that another sickness is coming. That's not out of reach. I just don't feel like it. There's some things the things that you need to do, they're not out of reach. You just don't feel like it. Right? And what do we tell our kids? If if God were to treat me the way that sometimes I react, where it's just like, you can do this, you can go make your bed. You can do things in math homework. You don't feel like it. Don't our kids do that? Or is it just me? Is it just in my family? But it's just like, but we do that, right? So whatever because I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I know exactly what it is you're supposed to be doing, but I do know that you know. You feel it every day when you wake up. It's in your gut. You say things like, man, I really should just go ahead and get my LLC. Let me go ahead and do this. Let me take this course. Let me do whatever, right? Let me fill out this job application. Let me take my resume over to this person to fix my resume up. Let me do this. You know what these things are. And it's the things that you've been procrastinating about. They're not out of reach. You just don't desire to do it right now. You don't feel like it. And this is the season where you're going to experience a lot of pain because you've been getting the instructions, but you've been letting your desires get in the way of you following through with the instructions. Let me tell you, nothing happens in this earth that God doesn't prepare his people for. Nothing. If you've been listening to this, you've been officially prepared. You can't be like, Lord, why? Lord, why? You've heard it from the rooter to the tutor. If you've been following my page, you've been hearing it. So you've officially been put on notice. Why he going oops upside my head? I told you to leave a year ago. Don't tell me that I let this happen to you. You let that happen to you. I told you to leave that man when you saw his attitude change. I told you to leave when you saw his attitude start to change. I told you, hey, he about to flip the script. You need to leave. And now he going oops upside your head and you upset. No, we got to get out of that habit of blaming God after we've been in a state of rebellion, a sustained. And I'm talking to myself too, because I had to break myself with this. I used to blame God for my life after being in a sustained state of rebellion, meaning I wasn't in and out. I was consistently stubborn and hard-headed and would do wrong and would consistently go against what he's like, leave that job. I did that when it was time for me to do that. God was like, leave that job. I stayed there until it was like I was having anxiety attacks. Or well, I'm having this anxiety attacks because you won't listen. I told you to leave. I knew it was coming. This place, I'm not in this space anymore. You don't have any purpose here anymore. Now, instead of you contributing, they're just using you. Some of y'all are in situations like that. So just remember that. So 3 things. I'm trying to think. Don't remember everything. If you don't know your vision, download the workbook today. It's $15. You spend more than that at Chick-fil-A. Or if maybe you don't live somewhere Chick-fil-A. We'll say Cava or wherever else, right? And if you need to watch this from the beginning, it's on YouTube. So as soon as I press end on here, it's going to post on YouTube. And I have the link to my YouTube in here. Follow my YouTube anyway, just in case TikTok is gone in 6 months. But until then, we're going to rock. We're going to enjoy it while it's here. And if you feel like, look, there's certain things that I want to be held accountable to, and you need help birthing out your idea, join my small group. It's called the New Luminaries. The name will change soon. I don't know what it's going to be yet, but it will change. Join. We meet every week. That's if you want more interaction instead of just soaking in. You're like, look, I need some deliverables. I give the people in my small group deliverables. Like, look, what did you say you were going to do this? Let's do it. Right. And I feel personally like those individuals I am personally connected to make sure that they birth that thing out. Right. Well, they still have to make sure, but I make sure that I'm doing what I need to do and imparting enough to make sure that that happens. And lastly, maybe you do have a business or something like that that you need to clean up and you need some coaching and some direct coaching and you need to bring that place from out of the grave. Contact me. We can do that. Anyway, y'all have a good day. Y'all heard my stomach growling. So I'm going to go make my steak and salad and enjoy that and not have carbs. You said, wait on what, man? You better say something quick because my stomach growled about I just told you what I did, friend, and it should be very apparent. I'm gonna tell you anyway. I just came in. Okay, if you just came in, go to my profile, click the YouTube. It's gonna be the latest live video on YouTube, so you can watch the whole thing. But I am a minister and a coach, right? That is called to people in the marketplace and creative entrepreneurs. So every week at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, thank you so much. At 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, I go live and I teach something. All right. And usually it's about some sort of mindset, system, or strategy to help you stay in alignment with getting whatever it is that you're building to come to fruition. And everything I teach, typically you can apply to every aspect of your life, your family, your business, your spiritual walk, whatever. I also go live. Follow me. I go live periodically during the week and I just talk. Yesterday we talked about deliverance. I don't know how. Oh, I remember how we got to deliverance because somebody told me that deliverance wasn't real. And I had to be like, yo, dude, deliverance is absolutely real. And I even went through and I even explained that. So we talked yesterday about deliverance, but either way. So, okay, I have you locked in. Thank you. I appreciate that. Go back and watch it. I am going to eat. My stomach is going like that. Like it's making surprise appearances on this live. So thank you guys so much. Share this, like, share, go back, go through my profile, the link in my profile. See the links and get what you need. Bye, y'all.